Boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Now, in today's episode, I have my McLaren 720S behind me. And today I was gonna give you this long explanation and episode about how, hey, I've always wanted a 720. This is why the McLaren's so special, but honestly, no one cares about that kind of stuff. The fact of the matter is I do have one. It is a $300,000 car, and I paid significantly less than that for this model. It did need some work, and today I'm gonna show you guys how you could service and repair your own supercar in your garage with cheap Chinese tools. Like today we're gonna do a literal $10,000 service on this vehicle. I'm gonna have different people come in to help me with windshield things and other specialties, but pretty much it's gonna be built in the same manner that the RS7 was built in, the i8, Dolores, the Tesla, and the Rat Rod. So everything was built in this garage on jack stands, no fancy lifts, no nothing. We'll be touching almost every serviceable part on this vehicle in terms of suspension, oil, transmission, clutch, all of that stuff. So stay tuned. So lately, I've been tired of all of the things. It's exhausting building stuff between the Volkswagen and the McLaren, and there's been many late night meetings with various people, and I've been feeling my age. And I know that I've been missing out on some things with this very busy lifestyle of mine, and one should ask themselves, do you have low T? Not feeling energetic, you want to increase strength and stamina, no problem, okay? I've tried other supplements, though Primegenics has been ahead of the pack because of their 100% natural testosterone booster, Testogen. Testogen contains zero gluten, soy, eggs, wheat, dairy, sugar, or preservatives. And what's also great is that there's absolutely no prescription required. I have it in my daily life, and it's a capsule that you can take one time a day, so that's really easy to remember. All I have to do is wake up and then take it with my morning sausages, and I can improve my physique, strength, and stamina, plus increase energy, focus, and motivation all together. And this has helped me feel so much better and get rid of that pesky low T feeling. So if you want to go the distance and improve life, go get a free bottle with your first purchase. Go to primegenics.com/richrebuilds. What are you doing here, Sean?
I'm looking at a broke-ass 720. This is probably the lowest going price for a 720 I've seen in a while.
Thank you very much. I like the deals. I like the deals.
It's a fixer-upper,
if you will. Yes. Yes, it is.
But let's start in the front.
Let's start in the front. What are you seeing?
The accumulators. Now, I checked the hydraulic fluid level.
Yep.
It's not low. These accumulators might be okay.
What are accumulators? What do they do?
So that's what this is right here, this little ball thing. Mm-hmm. So this is a hydraulic suspension on the Super Series cars and the Ultimate Series cars. All of them except the Sport Series. So not 570, not 600 LT, not 620R, not MSOX. Every other car has hydraulic suspension on it. Hydraulic fluid does not like to compress.
It does not.
So if you have that in the suspension with no buffer in there, it's going to be ride very, very stiff. Right. And that's not the sole function of this. We got the springs here, but in part of how this works, we need a little bit of give. Mm-hmm. And that's what the accumulator is for. So on the back side of this, there's a diaphragm, and it's filled with nitrogen back here.
Yep.
So that nitrogen, it kind of works out this way in the ball, and the fluid is trying to go this way, and it's pushing against that nitrogen, and that's taking that initial shock.
Right.
Of that. So if you don't have the appropriate amount of nitrogen, meaning these are old and it has bled through, it's a fabric diaphragm in these.
Right.
Which we'll circle back to that, but it can bleed through that over time.
Yep.
Or if you had a massive shock to the system, it can actually break that diaphragm. That's when you'll see a loss here because it's filling that ball.
Correct.
With the fluid. So if those are not working right, you start getting faults on the dash because it's trying to constantly adjust all these different things to make sure the car's being balanced and the right ride quality and all that stuff. The new style, we don't think is going to fail like these do. It has a metal bellow in it. Right. Different shape, different design.
Yep.
We don't think those are going to fail. So even though these might be good, we should probably replace them with the new style.
Right.
Set it, forget it, put the car together, drive it,
because once you put this car back together, those accumulators are a lot more difficult to get access to.
So moving back, everything here, obviously apart, nothing terrible.
Nope.
I think it was this one that had the broken glass.
Yeah, it was the other side.
The other side. Oh yeah, up here.
Yes.
So there's a few cracks. This glass has a tendency to break.
Yes, it does. And actually, this is the replacement glass. This isn't even the glass one anymore. So the glass one was there.
Polycarbonate.
That's the poly. The glass one was there. That cracked. The poly's now here. the poly cracked on the other side.
My 720, they're also both broken now. When I bought the car, they were not.
Yep.
I actually heard it crack while I was driving.
Just driving like a normal human being.
Totally normal, not doing
anything obsessive.
Fast,
yep.
And definitely not in a turn. So yeah, heard that crack on mine, so I got to replace mine. That is something to be addressed. The windshield also has a crack as well.
Yes, it does. I have to
that's not a me thing.
Right.
That's what we call a you problem.
I have that sounds like a you issue.
So again, accumulator in the back here.
Yeah, this seems like a lot easier to get access to.
Yeah, this one, super easy in current state, but you do have to change this near bolt because it is a different shape.
Yes.
There's a different head on this bolt, so you do have to replace it. The rear isn't a big deal. You can leave it in there, especially now. We can take the bolt out, put the new bolt in. After we take this off, put the new one on, no big deal. The fronts are going to be the problematic ones.
Right, okay.
Those are a bit of a chore. The inlet pipes, you've got the factory inlet pipes.
Yes, and what are some of the, I think what I've heard is the downside is that these are plastic and can become brittle and dislodge in the turbocharger.
So when we take these off to replace them, because I definitely recommend doing that, I will show you what exactly comes apart, and it's possible that yours may have come apart.
Perfect, okay.
The part is actually way further down there. In the curve, there's a little baffle that you can't see from right here.
Yep.
It's way down in there. That's a very hot area. It heats up, that baffle loosens up, comes dislodged, and then goes whee all the way over by the turbo and gets dangerously close to that wheel. Everything back here looks reasonably okay.
Yep.
Short of one thing. Something has been living up there.
I know. Rent-free, too.
So we don't know what that's going to look like wiring-wise.
No.
That could be chewed on, gnawed on. Maybe they just kept it warm.
Yes.
I don't know. But we need to get to that, to clean that up, see what's going on there. And to do that, we have to remove the back glass.
Correct.
And then we remove the carpet, and then we remove the access panel. It's not as bad as it sounds.
Okay, good. That's kind of odd.
Yeah, it was imported. You got a stick in there too. And some...
So where did they take it from? Because it doesn't look like there's anything else in there, right?
No. That is not of this automobile.
That's amazing.
It is a whole nest.
Boys, in a shocking turn of events, there was no damage to the wiring harness whatsoever. That was just foam that they chewed up. And all of the stuffing that we saw was from another vehicle. That didn't come from this vehicle anywhere. Everything here is still intact. So we're going to move on to the next thing now, which is flushing the brake fluid.
This stuff is the actual McLaren stuff. It's not always what I use, but it's DOT 5.1, and that is the critical point. 5.1 has a higher boiling temperature than DOT 4 or DOT 3. And you might think, well, why does that matter? Because it's not that hot outside. But when you hit the brakes, it compresses, and it gets really hot. And that's when it matters. So particularly on track, if you have too low of a fluid, your fluid can boil over. Then you have no brakes. Then you put it in the wall, and then you buy a new car because your insurance did not cover that.
Because you were on track.
Because you were on track.
Unless you had track insurance.
Yeah, we got a chunk stuck. There it goes.
There's a chunk.
Yeah, so there's some things occurring.
There's some contamination in the brake system. Look at that gradient. Look at that. It's like a sunset. Old bottom at the 2-ounce mark. That's the old stuff. Everything from 2 and up is the new stuff. The inlets are probably one of the more controversial things on a McLaren because of the problem that pieces of it breaking and potentially lodging itself in the turbocharger, which would be bad. So I don't think these are that bad personally. The car doesn't have many miles on it. Oh!
So what can happen is if they, and I'll see if I can actually force it to wiggle it just a little bit, let it groove. See if I can, that is as far as it can go.
But that's enough to hit the turbo easily.
It is possible that it could scrub the turbo at that point, the wheel, because it's about right there. There are cases where it has gotten very, very, very close to that, but it's just enough that it could possibly hit it. So these are the comparison of the various inlets for the turbochargers. This one's probably ABS plastic, and this one is
a full silicone design, and there's nothing on the inside that's gonna break off, crumble, and destroy the turbocharger. So, it's night has fallen, as you can see, and we have both inlet pipes in. You see the purple color sticking out there. That's installed on that side, and also that one is installed there. The problem we ran into, these two nuts. And I started putting these nuts on the stud for the turbo, and unfortunately, they didn't go on all the way. You see there's like a little lip right there on that one, and the threads are damaged in the second one. What I started doing is, as I tightened it more and more, it started to get a little rougher and rougher, and I could have done the full send method, but guess what? When I do the full send method, I could have potentially damaged the studs on the turbo, and that is the absolute last thing that you want to do ever. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get new hardware for these. I know when to back off after doing this for a few years. If I was a lot younger and the car was a lot less expensive, I would have done the full send method, but no, I tightened by hand, saw there was an issue, and backed off. So always do that when you're working on a car like this, because I want to actually drive this thing and not just stare at it in my garage for the next 6 months. Now we're going to work on the accumulator. We're going to change this old style to the new style.
There's a metal bellow in there with the nitrogen backing on it instead of the fabric on this one. These, we don't have any point of failure on those for timeline.
Okay.
These aren't really a time on actual time or mileage. It's just kind of road conditions, that kind of thing. These we've seen start failing on 720s in about 2 years. The same one is used in 650s, 675s.
Yep.
They last longer on those cars for whatever reason, I don't know. These have been out for a little over 2 years.
Yeah, no failures yet.
I haven't seen any failures. Okay. I'm unknown of any failures. So if this design is far less prone to failure.
Do it one more time. Okay.
So normally it would only go down to about here.
Yep.
If it was a brand new one. And you see it's actually releasing nitrogen right now through that, because I went down here and pushed on it, and there's not a whole lot left in it.
I gotcha. So end of life, this one.
Yeah, it is pretty well dead.
Okay.
Just a hair in it, and that's what those bubbles are, is the nitrogen bleeding through after I just kind of poked it.
Gotcha.
Technically, after you put 5 liters in, you're supposed to run it for 30 seconds. Like start it, run it for 30 seconds, and then add more. But, I mean, maybe you're all right.
Well, why can't we start it?
Because you don't have a battery in it.
Let's put the battery in.
Yeah, then we can start it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
Let's throw the cap on it.
Yeah, let's follow proper operating procedure.
Proper operating? It just sounds weird off the tongue. Proper operating.
Proper operating procedure. Okay, and so in case I didn't mention this before, I got this really neat titanium exhaust off of eBay. This thing weighs absolutely nothing at all. I don't know what brand it is. There's no brand on it, so it's probably Chinesium, but at the end of the day, if you didn't know this, pretty much all the McLaren 720 exhausts are pretty much the same. Either they'll come straight out. I think Soul has a version of that. There's a whole bunch of different options. Some have mufflers in it, but this is the best one to use if you really want that enhanced sound. Again, there's no brand on it, so I have no idea what this is. The welds look pretty good, and if they crack after a while, who cares, because this is so cheap. You can get these exhausts ranging from $4 grand to like $8,000, and this one was literally, I think it was like under $1,000, so really can't go wrong, and they all essentially sound the same. It even came with these flex pipes, which is good. I'm gonna put these on and clamp this exhaust in, but it really is a pretty piece of art. All right, today's a big day, guys. I have a Mass Auto Glass here, and they're actually going to replace the windshield in the 720S. You remember the crate that I got quite some time ago? The new windshield is in here. So I think we're going to do a couple things today. I think we're going to end up replacing the front windshield, which they've already started, and also the top roof glass, which is very prone to cracking. We have Dan here from Dan's Auto Body.
What's up, guys? Good morning.
But Dan also owns Mass Auto Glass as well. Thank you very much, Dan, for coming out. I appreciate it. No one would touch this thing. The second I told them the make and model of it, no one wanted to touch it. They immediately told me to go to McLaren Boston, and they said that there's no authorized person that could work on an exotic like this. But here you are.
It's just glass. Structurally sound, it's just glass. People overcomplicate things a little bit.
I guess so, but I'm super excited for you guys to do this.
Here we are using it's called a spider.
I've never seen that before.
To simplify it, you're roping the entire glass, and what you see there, that yellow string is super, heavy duty. It will cut the urethane without you having to use any razor blade. So you're able to, if this glass was good, if for some reason we had to take the windshield out for any sort of, a repair, we're able to get the glass out and minimize any chances of cracking the actual windshield. Obviously, in this case, this glass is cracked.
It already has a crack in it.
That we're able to just cut it. You won't cut the body of the vehicle, and just makes a nice clean cut all the way through. You can see him already cutting the glass here, so the cord is already roping all the way through the top.
Okay.
You are moving that gradually so you can focus the energy of the cord in exactly where you want. And this clear protective that he's using is to basically keep that nice and tight against the glass and not damage any of the interior trim. The initial step, you are basically utilizing this to go from inside out so we can get the cord out.
That's like the prodding tool to get it through.
So the second we get that through, now we rope the glass all the way through with the rope, nice and tight. There's not too much to it, more than being very cautious and take your time. So you let the cord do the job. The second you start seeing that it doesn't want to go, there's probably something on the way.
Gotcha.
You might want to slow down at that point.
I see.
The cord is so strong that if he catches an edge on the sheet metal, he will cut through the metal.
Really?
That's how strong it is.
Interesting.
He'll take a chunk of the metal out, no problem. All right, glass is out.
This is incredible.
So you can see here, this is the rain sensor. We'll be transferring this to the new windshield.
Okay.
And then get the other new windshield prepped now.
Okay, so this is the new windshield. So do you just put it face down right on the ground? Is that how that works?
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Okay.
But we're gonna go through a whole process of prepping this. And once this is prepped, we're gonna prep the body too. So we can then get the urethane and get the glass installed.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dan.
All right, V-shaped bead.
I see that.
You never wanna lay it down with a round bead. You're not gonna have good adhesion this way if you have a V-shaped bead. As you install the glass,
it kind of
the
spreads.
urethane spreads, evens out with the windshield, the surface on the bottom, and you eliminate air pockets. That's the biggest thing.
As you can see to the left and right, I have the sky panel, then I have the infamous sky panel delete kit. And the problem with these McLarens is that the roof glass actually cracks so much that there's actually a delete kit to actually remove the clear glass panel. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I know some people might have an issue with that, but I really don't want these panels to crack again. I only wanna do this once, and I'd actually rather just kind of sacrifice the ability to see the sky than have this happen again, because these are a small fortune to replace. Okay, Dan, the windshield.
She's wrapped up.
This looks really good. So what did we do today?
We finished up the windshield installation because we obviously had to come back to wait for universal seal. The top conversion kit is also installed.
Yes, looks really good.
Should be dry within 30 minutes.
This looks great, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to get the body parts here and get it together now.
That's gonna be good stuff. Thank you again, man.
Right
I appreciate it. Thank you again. Okay, at this point I have the rear exhaust shield on, one of two exhaust shields. There's actually 4 exhaust shields when you think about it. There's the bottom, there's the middle, there's the back, And then there's a top that goes right over this piece right here. And even though I painted this a satin black and you can't really see it, it's just good to know through some of the rear quarters, you could see it a little bit. And I think that nice freshly painted black look will look really good. So I have to secure this down. And then at this point, I think we're ready to put the taillights in. Okay, so I have to transfer all the pieces from this broken bracket to this one. I didn't realize I needed this, and I tried to assemble it, and it wasn't working. This piece was about, I think, $400 from McLaren, but they would have scored on eBay for about $89. So that's a really, really important part. All I'm gonna do now, this is part of the importance of not throwing any parts away. I have to remove these hardware, those 3 screws. I'm gonna take this off and transport this on to the new taillight. And this is McLaren with a very interesting design choice. They decided to put a mesh grill over the air box. So it looks kind of interesting, but it inserts right in here in that little cavity. And then once that's inserted and secured down, that's what it looks like on this side. So these little tabs that go into the taillight, again, really interesting design. They kind of slide in right there and they hook in. And once they're in, that's what it looks like. But I thought that was kind of interesting how they set that up. Overall, very cool look. All right, so on this side of the car, I suffered on the unfortunate incident of messing up one of the threads. So on this side of the car, one of the threads got messed up for the shock while installing the accumulators. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this right now. It looks like that time cert that's in there got a little messed up. When we were pushing this back up, we couldn't really quite get the nut back in. And when we started putting it in, it started stripping itself automatically. So with this, I'm actually gonna remove the rest of that coil. That's what holds the bolt in place. And I'm gonna pull that out just like this, just like that. Pull those coils out. All right, it's coming out. I'm gonna do that one more time. That's in there pretty good. All right, I got that out. And now that's nice and clean on the inside. I'm gonna clean that hole up a little bit, and then I'm gonna put a new time cert in. All right, so now I'm just using the tap to make new threads on this before I put the insert into it. So I'm just gonna make sure that goes all the way through. Once I do that, I'm gonna be putting this coil right in there. This is how you put this in. You put the new insert in, and you just screw it right in. And then that's what makes the new threads on the inside. Last but not least, let's check it out. Now it's tightening just fine. Awesome. Okay, so today we have the first batch of performance modifications. We have the BMC air filters, which is a very popular modification for the McLaren 720. And yes, I'm trying to manhandle this while holding the camera at the same time. It has proven to be quite a challenge. It's not easy. Oh, there you go. Awesome. So now it's as simple as removing all the air buffeting stuff. Remember, I was saying in the prior section of this video, there was some parts here. There was a foam piece that was in there that prevented a lot of the sound from resonating. I actually want to hear the suction sound, so I removed it. But these are as easy as kind of just sticking it up there in that hole. Okay, right in the hole here. And that stays in place. And this piece is what pushes up against it to keep it steady. Okay, boys and girls, I'm sure you remember how rough the car was running. It had very severe idling issues. It would shut off for a couple of minutes and then turn back on again. The car wouldn't stay consistently running. And remember, according to the scan tool, it had misfires in pretty much every cylinder in the engine. So what I just ordered from McMedics is I actually got the spark plugs and I got the coil pack replacement kit. So I'm replacing all 8 coils and all 8 spark plugs to see that makes a difference when it comes to the idling. I have the rear window screen off, and right now I'm just getting access to do the spark plugs. And I actually was able to remove the first one. It took me about maybe 30 minutes or so to do the first one. This is very tight quarters in here because you have this this giant support bar right here, so you can't really fit an extension very easily in there. And I was greeted to this surprise right about here. And this is, my opinion, kind of a lot of oil. It's a surprising amount of oil to pull out of that. I was concerned at first. I talked to one of the guys, Kevin, at the McMedic's place, and he said, believe it or not, this is normal. Having that much oil on the tip of the spark plug was normal. You know, I thought it was the cause of the misfiring issue. I think it's kind of a lot. They seem to think it's perfectly normal, so I'm gonna keep it as that. I'm gonna listen to their advice. The plug definitely looks fouled at the tip, but I'm gonna start the process of removing the remainder of them. I took one out, and I have about 7 more to go. So I'm gonna keep plugging my way at this, and I'll tell you, the quarters in here to do the spark plugs are not ideal. You have that giant intercooler in the way, you have the frame rail in the way, and then you have a miscellaneous assorted other electronics back here. So I have that one in. Let's see, it's 1 down, 7 more to go. And if you look back here, that one's just hidden back there. So these are kind of a pain to get access to big time. So first one's out, and the second one is coming out pretty easily as well. That's the coil pack right back there. You can see it or not, but I have my hand on it right now and pulling it out. So I got this one. Boom, that's the second one. And now to pull the spark plug to see how bad that was. The first one was covered in oil. Hopefully this second one isn't as bad. All right, I have the extension on, and technically, if you can see that last hole right there, it should just kind of drop in. And this one's a little bit easier, seeing as I have less of the frame in the way, and we're all the way down. Perfect, right there. I just put my 3/8 on that, and I'm good to go. Okay, I'm doing the last one right now. I'm doing this in the worst way possible. I actually have magnets at the top of it, and if I drop one of those circular magnets into that hole, I am beyond screwed. Let's check this second one out. Let's see. There doesn't seem to be as much oil on this one. Still oil, but not as much. And you can see there's some discoloration at the top. So these are getting pretty hot. These are actually time to get changed, so I'm glad I'm doing this right now. Seems to make a lot of sense. So I'm just gonna write the number on these and lay them out. As I get all of them out, I'll be able to tell what cylinder is doing what. Okay, so I loosened up these 2 bolts here and here. As you can see, I shifted over 1.5 inches on both sides, and I also loosened up the throttle body tube. So now what I can do is I could actually lift this up. You might be thinking to yourself, Rich, why not just remove the entire intercooler? And I can't do that because this is a air-to-water intercooler. There's coolant lines going to it, and I don't want to disconnect those and have to repressurize the system or refill the system and have to get into, you know, getting out air bubbles. So I decided just to do that, loosen up these brackets on both sides. And if you look, I could actually raise this high enough now. Once I raise this high enough, I can get my hand in there and disconnect those 2 connectors right there, if you could see them. Okay, so I'm pulling the last spark plug out now on that side. Well, not the last one, but the second to last one. But this one looks like the other ones does. But the interesting part about this is the rust buildup at the side. If you look at it, water was definitely seeping into this, which is something else. So it shows that this may not have been tightened down enough for water to get past it. Because the water to get here, that's not great. Let's check the tips out. That's a little white, covered in oil. In between. All right, let's get the last one in that bank out. Okay, now the second one behind this intercooler, it's right there, really easy to get access to. I just dip my hand underneath, and you could maybe hear it. Undo that clip. That clip is out, and now to get to that 8mm on that side, and it's a lot easier now that I have my trusty tool here, my trusty extension set. See this right here? Have the U-joint and the swivel. I simply just put it in here like this. All right, see how it's on? All I gotta do now, you got the swivel and the U-joint on it and an 8mm, wherever that is, okay? Now I put this on here, which also has a swivel head just in case, and it makes my life that much easier. Okay, now that the coils are done and now that the spark plugs are done, let's take it for a secondary test fire, and we're gonna see what codes we were able to get rid of once we did the coil packs and the spark plugs. Okay, now that I changed those things, let's see if this thing fires up and gets rid of those codes. Hold on, foot down, and then start. Guys, it's running a lot better now. I know you probably can't tell from home, but the idle's a lot more smooth. A lot more smooth. Okay, everything was good up to this moment. Looks like I'm changing an axle seal now. Okay. There you go. Okay. That's a 720S axle. Let's see what the axle seal looks like. Let's pick it out. Okay, I have that popped out now. Any guesses why it wasn't sealing properly? I got a few. All right, let's put the new one in. Okay. Okay, so after replacing the axle seal, I actually tried to spin this wheel on this side, and it kept binding up over and over again. What I've noticed on this side, because this is the side that I actually got in the accident, look at this ball joint. The prior shop did not replace this ball joint. They also did not replace the axle seal, and I have a very sneaky suspicion about what's going on with the axle. Yeah, I might be able to reuse that.
I've gotten good at saving those.
Cool. The ball bearing's falling out too.
Yeah. It's like grinding.
Ay, ay, ay.
I think one of the bearings came out. Like the balls that go on the side. I think there's one on the back. That's what's stopping it. Cause
that's probably that big bump that came on that side too.
Yeah, there's one here and one here. Wow. Yeah. Well,
there you go.
Do you wanna attempt to take this apart?
Sure. Go for it. Can't get any worse.
True.
Ready, Doc. Give it to me.
Look at the...
Oh, my goodness.
On the back side, no less.
Oh, man. Okay.
I was trying to take the shell off. I'm like, well, let me see if I could just pop the joint off, and then I found that.
Yeah, that won't work.
I don't even know if that comes apart.
I don't think it does. I think they're, yeah.
Most joints are splined down here, right? And it just whack it off with a hammer because there's a clip in there and it just pops off and you build the joint. But this looks solid. Like I don't even see splines in there.
All right, well, you just might as well go full send, pop the whole thing off, see what it looks like on the inside.
You want to take the shell off, or do you want me to try whacking that?
I think there's no point. I think we need a replacement because if that's all gnashed, just take it off. See what it looks like on the inside.
Let's do some scalpel maneuver here, and we'll go all the way across.
Yeah, cut right across. I'll get a new one. Let's do it.
All right.
On, anyways.
Oh boy, we got broken pieces in here.
Really?
Yep. Hang on, we gotta dump this out somewhere.
So I think they reused the stock axle then in the accident. They didn't change the axle.
You know what that is? The second half of this cage.
Holy
this cage shattered. 1, 2, 3. Got any more pieces in here? Oh yeah. Another one there. Oh, ow!
Oh, it's sharp.
Yep.
Okay, let's get this show on the road and do some maintenance to this old pig. So right now, what I want to do first is I want to do a clutch fluid change. And as you can see here, they conveniently put the clutch fluid filter in front of that sway bar. So I have to unbolt the sway bar, let it hang down in order to get to that filter. And the two drains for the clutch are here. I have a drain on the clutch for that side and a secondary drain on that side. Is it coming? There you go. It's clear. It's really clear. like this was just done almost, and it's gonna overflow.
Okay, and here's the second chamber. There you go. Second drain. Put a lot of fluid in this thing, man.
There you go. Filter looks relatively new. It doesn't look that bad at all. So that's the old O-ring that was on there. And I'm putting a new one on along with this filter. So shout out to Kevin from the McMedics crew for getting these to me so quickly. I really appreciate you doing that, because these from McLaren would be a small fortune. So thanks again, man. Okay, that's the old, and this is the new. So this doesn't look that bad. Again, it was just a kind of preventative thing I wanted to do, but I figured now that I'm in here, might as well do it. And that's where that goes. Right in there. Okay, snaps right into place. After that, oh shoot, let me see. Where's the cover? Put this cover on with the new O-ring, and we're good to go. Where is it? There you go. Oh. All right, back to the wonder world of McLaren maintenance. If you had any idea how much these Pentosan dual clutch fluid things cost, they're probably damn near 50 bucks a piece. And I need 7 of them to fill this thing up, so I have my tube in here. I'm just gonna use the this filler pump to do it, because there's no real other easy way to get in there. I try to go from the top, but the exhaust components are blocking it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start pumping away. There you go. Pump, pump, pump. Okay, so now I have to pump all the oil that I put in here back into these jugs, because these are actually going back to the shop for my waste oil heater. So everything we put in here, like the transmission fluid, the DCT fluid, and the oil, that actually gets burned in the shop for heat this winter. So it's actually a pretty cool way that we do some recycling. Okay, so now in order to bleed the clutch fluid system, I could actually go into this air brake test, because the clutch fluid is the same fluid that's used in the air brake. So once the air brake is cycled, it'll help bleed and get rid of a lot of the air in the clutch system, which is a really cool feature that this diag code software and McLarens have in general. So I'm going to start that process right now. I think it should actuate the wing mounts, and after it does that, the clutch should be all set. It gives you basic measurements of how high each side is. Once I know that they're even and they're noted, then that clutch system's all set. For the air brake bleed and start procedure. So let's get into a quick synopsis of what we've actually done over the course of this episode. And I will say that this diag code software really helped me out quite a bit. After changing those accumulators and changing the spark plugs and coils and running the car for a few minutes, a lot of codes actually went away. So if I go to the electronic steering, I actually was able to clear up 2 of the codes. So 2 of those codes are gone. If I went into the ECU, a ton of codes are gone. A lot of these, gearbox starting in limp mode. Let's see, the crankshaft fluctuation speeds and the misfiring. There were originally 24 codes, and now we are down to 3 codes. So just changing those plugs and also changing the coil packs made a huge difference on this. We keep going down the list, even going over the ADI, the driver interface. We got rid of a few. There were 17 codes before, and now there's 13. We got rid of a few things like the Sirius, the power antenna after replacing the windshield. That went back into play. We also have to go into the BCM. The BCM, another big difference. There were 7 And then now formerly there were 13, now there's 7. We got things like the rain light sensor missing. That was from the windshield replacement. Don't forget the brake, bottom, tail lamps, the front lamps. A lot of those went away as well. And I think even more of these codes are gonna go away once I start plugging things back into the car. I still have the headlights. I still have various other sensors that actually cleaned up very, very nicely down there. But now I want to get into the money side of things. Let's talk about money, shall we? And how much this whole thing ended up costing. So just to get into things on the money side, we have the brake fluid, oil change, and annual service is about $2,400 from McLaren. The accumulators were $3,700. Clutch replacement fluid was $650. Air filters were $800. Transmission $550, and the plugs were $2,800 or so. And the flush, the cost I ended up paying was $300 for the brake flush, $1,700 for the accumulators, $300 for the tranny and clutch, $250 for the air filters, $150 for the tranny fluid change, and also $800 for the plugs coil. So this ended up costing me, with the software included, less than half. This adds up to about $10,000 or so just for the services I would perform over this episode, and I was able to get it done with the special McLaren software for less than half. So yeah, this McLaren project couldn't have been done without the help of the boys over at Diag Code. Huge help with that software. He gave it to me for a really, really good price. And then also the boys over at the McMedics, both Kevin and Sean. Sean for coming out to hang out, have a good time, and teach me more about the car. And Kevin in the background to really get me the discount on the parts that I needed. So if you ever need McLaren parts, make sure you try them first. I got the accumulators through them. I got the axle seal through them, the spark plugs, the coils, pretty much all of the important elements I got from this car from those guys over there. So thank you guys very much. And next episode is hopefully the reassembly of the vehicle, and then we can start getting to other things like the tuning side and actually getting this thing driving on the street. So I will see you guys next week.